Hey guys, this is your pharmacist Sidra and welcome to Pharmacy Tech Study Guide. Today's video is super important because I'm going to be talking about the top 100 drugs you need to learn, not only the generic names but the brand names as well, also their common uses. So without any further ado, let's dive in. I have actually categorized these medications for you in different classes based on their uses. And I've also put together the medications with same suffix so it's easier for you to remember. And really, this would be the easiest way for you to remember. I don't really recommend that you sit down and start cramming your top 100, 200 drugs because you won't be able to remember and retain them. So it's easier if you categorize your drugs based on their uses and then kind of try to identify the similar medications in that category. So let's look at the way I've categorized the medications for you so it makes more sense to you about categorizing them by use and similar name. Alright, so the first category I have here is the cholesterol-lowering statin drugs. Statin drugs are very commonly used to help lower cholesterol. Some of the common ones are atorvastatin, brand name is Lipitor, pravastatin, brand name Prevacol, simvastatin, name brand is Zocor, rosuvastatin, name brand Crestor, and then we have lovastatin, name brand is Altoprev. Now, if you notice the suffix of the medication, they end by the word statin. That also kind of help you remember the category of this medication. So anytime you see a medication ending in the word statin, that means it's a cholesterol lowering medication. Okay, so the next category I have is the ACE inhibitors. These are very common medications used to lower blood pressure. Some of the common ones are lisinopril, brand name Zestril or Prenavil, captopril, name brand is Kepoten, ramipril, name brand Altes. Again, the suffix of these medications ends in pril, so anytime you see a medication that has the suffix pril means it's a blood pressure lowering medication and it belongs to the class of ACE inhibitors. Now, these medications are commonly available in combination with a diuretic called hydrochlorothiazide. The short form is HCTZ. Now, this medication, like I said, is a diuretic. So basically, diuretics are the medications which eliminate excess water out of the body. That's why you will often see them in combination with the blood pressure lowering medications. And the most common one, like I said, would be the HCTZ that you will see. And a common example would be lisinopril in combination with HCTZ. The name brand is Zesoretic. Now, the next class of the medication is ARBs. These are also used to lower blood pressure. ARBs and ACE inhibitors pretty much work the same way. A lot of patients are started on ACE inhibitors, but a common side effect of ACE inhibitors is that they cause this unproductive cough, which is very bothersome for the patient. So any patient who experienced that side effect are actually put on the ARBs. So some of the common medications in this class would be losartan, name brand Cozar, irbesartan, name brand is Avaparo, olmesartan, name brand is Benicar. Again, these medications are also available in combination with HCTZ. The very common one would be losartan HCTZ, name brand is Hyzar. And then we have irbesartan HCTZ, the name brand is Avalid. Let's talk about calcium channel blockers. Now, these medications again help to control blood pressure. Some of the common ones are amlodipine, Norvasc is the brand name, nifedipine, name brand is Procardia, proton pump inhibitors. These medications are very commonly used to help lower the acid reflux or GERD, and their ending suffix is prazole. You can see on the screen omeprazole, Prilosec is the brand name, esomeprazole, name brand Nexium, pantoprazole, name brand is Protonix, and then we have rabeprazole, name brand Esifix, lansoprazole, name brand Prevacid, dexlansoprazole, name brand is Dexilant. Now, one thing to remember here is that the suffix prazole of the proton pump inhibitors must not be confused with the zoles of fluconazole, which is an antifungal. So remember, fluconazole, name brand Diflucet, and another one would be ketoconazole. Ketoconazole is not very commonly used in a tablet form, but ketoconazole shampoo is available. So make sure you remember the distinction between them. The ketoconazole and fluconazole are antifungals, while the pantoprazole, omeprazole, the prazole suffix is proton pump inhibitor. Another class of medication that helps with reducing the acid reflux would be H2 blockers or histamine blockers. These are famotidine, name brand Pepcid, cimetidine, name brand Tegamet, and the last one in the middle is ranitidine. The name brand is Zenteg. Now, this medication has been taken off the market, but I did mention it here in case you see it in the exam or anywhere. You know the medication exists, but recently it was taken off the market because of the safety issues. Now, there are some histamine blockers which actually help with the allergy relief. These medications help with watery eyes, runny nose, sneezing, or just in general allergy symptoms. Some of the common ones are loratadine, name brand is Claritin, fixofenadine, name brand Allegra, and then we have diphenhydramine, the name brand is Benadryl. All of these medications are available over the counter, so I highly recommend that if you work in a pharmacy, or even if you do not work in a pharmacy, just go to the pharmacy over the counter allergy section and try to identify your Claritin, Benadryl, Allegra, and try to get that visual memory. Speaking of visual memory, another medication that you want to get the visual memory of is acetaminophen. Pretty much every household in the United States have acetaminophen or Tylenol in their medicine cabinet because this is a very common pain reliever. It also helps reduce fever. This medication is available in combination with diphenhydramine. Often you'll see it over the counter as Tylenol PM. But some of the common combinations as a prescription would be acetaminophen with codeine, acetaminophen with hydrocodone, acetaminophen with oxycodone, acetaminophen with tramadol, and I'm going to break them down on screen for you. So you can see acetaminophen with codeine, 300/15 milligram is Tylenol number 2. I would highly recommend remembering these strengths. In general, you don't have to remember the strengths of these medications, but just in case of Tylenol with codeine, I recommend remembering the strengths because the strengths of these medication kind of are correlated to the brand name of the medicine. So like in this instant, you see acetaminophen with codeine, which is 300/30 milligram is Tylenol with number 3. Acetaminophen codeine 300/60 is Tylenol number 4. Now they get confused all the time. The way I remember is Tylenol number 3 and Tylenol strength, which has codeine 30 milligram. They are similar. So 30 and 3, they're Tylenol number 3. And the strength lower to that is Tylenol number 2, and strength higher to that or double that is Tylenol number 4. Now you can notice in this that the strength of Tylenol and in general all the other combinations of Tylenol with other medications, the strength of Tylenol remains the same. The strength of other medications kind of varies, and a good example of that would be Norco. Here on the screen you can see hydrocodone acetaminophen 5/325, then we have 7.5/325, 10/325. In this instance as well, the acetaminophen strength remains same in all three medications. It's 325 milligrams. The hydrocodone strength changes. Now you can see the scheduled drug category, which is highlighted in the yellow on the screen. Acetaminophen with codeine was drug category 3 and hydrocodone acetaminophen was scheduled drug category 2. Now there are 5 different scheduled drug categories. Now this category or classification is based on how much habit forming ability these medications have. So starting with Schedule 1 medication, which has the highest potential of causing addiction, to Category 5, which has the lowest potential of causing addiction. Now, Schedule 1 or Class 1 medications are not available in pharmacy for dispensing. These are the medications which are just available in lab for experiment and research purpose for the scientists. In pharmacy, you will see class 2 to 5, and again class 2 having the highest potential of addiction and class 5 having the lowest potential of addiction. These are regulatory medications. We do monitor when and how much these medications were dispensed to the patient for their safety. Alright, So let's talk about some other common pain medications. Acetaminophen with tramadol is a category 4 and the name brand is Ultracet. Tramadol itself is available as a pain medication, very commonly used, and its name brand is Ultram. Then we have oxycodone with acetaminophen. Now you can see the word APAP on the screen. Now APAP is a short form of acetaminophen. So anytime in exam you see the word APAP, that refers to acetaminophen. Now not to confuse APAP with ASA, which is the short form of aspirin. Aspirin is another over-the-counter pain medication. It's also used as a blood thinner and is also one of the top 200 drugs. So don't forget to remember this medication. Another fact about aspirin would be that 81 milligram you see over the counter will have a tiny heart on the package, which represents that that medication or that strength is used by heart patients as a blood thinner, and the regular 325 milligram of aspirin is used as a pain reliever, not as a blood thinner in heart patients. That's why you'll see that those boxes do not have heart printed on them. Okay, some of the other common pain medications are oxycodone. Oxycodone is available as an immediate release form and an extended release form. The immediate release form of oxycodone does not has a name brand. The extended release formulation has a name brand, which is called OxyContin and Extemza. Now keep in mind, even though Extemza and OxyContin, they're oxycodone extended release, but they're not interchangeable. Then we have oxymorphone, name brand is Opena. Next is morphine. Morphine immediate release also does not has a name brand, but the morphine extended release is called MS Contin. Hydromorphone, name brand is Dilaudid. Now do remember oxycodone, oxymorphone, morphine, hydromorphone, they're all Schedule 2 medications. Okay, now let's talk about some of the common antibiotics. The first one would be penicillins. Penicillin itself is dispensed as an antibiotic. The short form of penicillin would be PCN, but there's no name brand available. This class of medication has other commonly dispensed antibiotics like amoxicillin, ampicillin. Amoxicillin, the name brand is Amoxil, is not very strong or very potent, so this is used in combination with clavulanate sometimes, and that combination is known as augmentin. You can notice there is a suffix for penicillin antibiotics as well, which is cillin. So anytime you see a medication ending in cillin, that most likely belongs to the drug category penicillins. Now, there are some antibiotics similar to penicillins. They're not exactly penicillins, but they are like sister to penicillin. And some of the common medications are cephalosporin, name brand is Keflex, and then ceftonir, name brand Omnicef. We have a few more antibiotics which have common suffix like ciprofloxacin, levofloxacin, ofloxacin. Ciprofloxacin, name brand is Cipro, levofloxacin, name brand Levaquin, ofloxacin, name brand Fioxin. Floxacin is the suffix here that is common in all of these medications. Another category of antibiotics with common suffix would be azithromycin and erythromycin. Azithromycin, the name brand is Zithromax. This medication is normally dispensed as a Z-Pack. You will see that on prescriptions all the time. The way Z-Pack is dispensed is that 2 medications of azithromycin are taken day 1 as a single dose, and then the next 4 days, patient takes 1 tablet every day. So Z-Pack has total of 6 azithromycin tablets, 2 taken day 1, and the rest of the 4 taken 1 every day for the next 4 days. Some of the other miscellaneous commonly used antibiotics are sulfamethoxazole, trimethoprim. The name brand is Bactrim or Bactrim DS. Here DS refers to double strength. You can see the regular Bactrim, the strength is 400 milligrams / 800, but when you double the strength of it, which is 800 / 160, the name brand becomes Bactrim DS. Then we have nitrofurantoin. Nitrofurantoin, the name brand is Macrobid or Macrodentin. In the pharmacy terminologies, BID refers to twice a day. So Macrobid means this medication is taken twice a day. And Macrodentin, the other name brand, is taken 4 times a day or sometimes just once a day. Just a little tip to help you remember the difference between microbid and macrodentin. Then we have metronidazole, name brand is Flagyl. This is one of those antibiotics where we always tell patients not to take it with alcohol while they're on it and up to 3 days after stopping it, because there is a risk of a very severe life-threatening reaction. Then we have doxycycline. Doxycycline is an antibiotic which is available in 2 salt forms, doxycycline hyclate and doxycycline monohydrate. The name brand for doxycycline hyclate would be Vibramycin. The name brand for monohydrate form is Monodox. Now, doxycycline monohydrate and doxycycline hyclate differ only in their salt form, monohydrate and hyclate. Hyclate basically has greater solubility than the monohydrate form. However, the monohydrate form is more tolerable. So the only difference between the two is in their solubility. So regardless of the solubility difference, they're both effective in treating the infections. Thyroid hormone replacement. Now, a lot of people who have naturally insufficient production of thyroid in their body get the thyroid replacement therapy, and the most common one is the levothyroxine, and the common brand name to this would be Synthroid. Now, I do want you to remember all these brand names like Synthroid, Levoxil, NP Thyroid, Armour Thyroid, and if the levothyroxine is dispensed in a capsule form, then the name brand is Terracint. Now, something to remember, these are not always interchangeable. Also, some people kind of respond different to different brands of this thyroid medication. So I would recommend do not ever change it on your own. Always check with the patient or the doctor before interchanging them, because patient could respond differently to these different brands. Now, you must have heard of LOL, which is laugh out louder, but in pharmacy, LOL is the suffix for the beta blocker medications like Atenolol, metoprolol, propranolol. So anytime you see LOL, you shouldn't be thinking of only laugh out louder, but you should be thinking of this class of the medications which are used to treat blood pressure. So Atenolol, the name brand is Tenormin. Metoprolol is available in 2 salt forms, metoprolol succinate and metoprolol tartrate. Now, the metoprolol succinate is the extended release form of the metoprolol. So the name brand is the Toprol XL. The difference between the metoprolol tartrate and succinate is that one is a longer acting, which is succinate is longer acting, and toprolol is the shorter acting. I normally always get confused with the 2 forms, but I have a silly way of remembering the difference between the 2. Metoprolol succinate is long acting. S is for short, but in this case, I always invert it and oppose it, and then remember that, okay, S is for short, but this medication is long acting, and the toprolol is short acting. I know this kind of sounds silly, but if you have a better way of remembering it, just go by that. This works for me, and if it works for you, great. Just keep in mind the name brands for the succinate and the toprolol form are different. The metoprolol succinate is Toprol XL, and the metoprolol tartrate is Lopressor. Other medications in this category would be bisoprolol, name brand Monocor, Zebeta, propranolol, name brand is Inderol, nebivolol, name brand by Stolic, nadolol, name brand is Corgard, carvedilol, name brand is Coreg. Alright, now let's talk about some of the antidepressants which end in the suffix tine, T-I-N-E. The first one is fluoxetine, name brand Prozac, and then we have paroxetine, name brand is Paxil. Now here, remember, you don't want to confuse Paxil with Plavix. Paxil is the name brand for paroxetine, which is an antidepressant, while Plavix is the name brand for clopidogrel, which is actually a blood thinner. Another thing to remember is that you don't want to confuse their suffix "tine" with the penes, which, if you kind of recall, we talked about amlodipine, nifedipine, which were your calcium channel blockers to control blood pressures. So something to pay attention to. Do not confuse blood pressure medications with your antidepressants, fluoxetine and paroxetine. Some of the other common antidepressants would be citalopram, name brand is Celexa. Then we have escitalopram, name brand is Lexapro. Again, we have a common suffix, which is pram. Then we have amitriptyline, name brand Elavil. Nortriptyline, name brand is Pemilor. Sertraline, name brand Zoloft. Bupropion, name brand is Wellbutrin. Now these are all the antidepressants which are commonly used. Now one thing about bupropion, that the common brand name that you'll see would be Wellbutrin, but you can also see the name brand Zyban, which is also a Wellbutrin or bupropion. Zyban is the name brand for bupropion only when this medication is used for smoking cessation. Alright, benzodiazepines to help anxiety. All the benzodiazepines are your Schedule 4 medications, and pretty much all of them ends in the suffix PAM, P-A-M, like lorazepam, diazepam, clonazepam, temazepam. Name brand for lorazepam is Ativan, diazepam is Valium, clonazepam is Klonopin, temazepam is Restoril. Then we have alprazolam and trizolam. Now here the suffix shifts a little bit, so instead of PAM it is LAM, L-A-M, alprazolam and trizolam. The name brand for alprazolam is Xanax, and then trizolam is Halcyon. Some of the most commonly used antivirals end in the suffix VIR, which is vir, like antiviral, like virus, vir, VIR. Some of the common ones are acyclovir, name brand Zovirax, famciclovir, name brand Femvir, valcyclovir, name brand is Valtrex, oseltamivir, name brand Tamiflu. Alright, so these were some of your common top 100 medications. This is not the complete list by any means. I have more videos coming on the top 200 drugs in which I will further discuss other commonly used medications. But I don't want to overwhelm you with everything in one video. I'd like you to remember all of these first before we move on to other complicated ones. In the next video, we will be talking about some of the most commonly used like insulins, some diabetes medications, and some of the other common ones that you should remember in your top 200. Now the list of the top 200 medications is readily available online. If you're not able to remember every single drug in the top 200, I highly recommend that you do remember the drugs that I am gonna go over in these videos for you, because those are some of the medications you'll literally see day in and day out in your pharmacy job. And you must remember these for your exam as well, because most likely you'll be asked questions about them. If you have questions on the medications I just discussed, do leave them in the comments, and don't forget to join me in the next part of the top 200 drugs.